Are you tired with opening multiple loot boxes and not getting anything that you want? Are you tired of seeing all of your friends getting all the good ships? Well, here, at a trade center near you, we have the solution. The solution? The Rager Torpedo Frigate. Boasting the largest torpedoes ever fitted to a frigate before, at 300 damage per torpedo and boasting 2 systems too. This will meet all your DPS needs. Be a winner and buy the Rager Torpedo Frigate today.
Hey up lads and lasses, Danfire here, back again with some Infinite Lagrange. I remembered this time it is French. Just quickly though, big shout out to Nova Kane, another YouTuber, but he was the guy that did the voice acting for me for that really cool intro. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun creating it, and it was fun working with Nova Kane. He is a YouTuber as well, so do check the description below. There's going to be a link there. Do give him a subscribe and stuff like that. Send him some love. He does a lot of Elite Dangerous content, so if you're into that stuff, definitely check him out. There's a really cool mining video he did with loads of cool music and limpet drones and stuff. It was great. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about fleet compositions and pretty much the very early fleet composition and what you should be trying to aim for. Explain a little bit about the variances in the different ships and what sort of roles they fulfill. So, more or less, this game has the holy trifecta from the RPG genre, which is the tank, support, and the DPS. So support ships are your healers and your carriers. They're bringing in anti-air, a little bit anti-ship as well. Healers are obviously healing your ships. Your tanks are tanking the damage and keeping the damage, hitting your damage per second ships, your DPS ships. And your DPS are there to blow stuff up. So it's very important to keep that in mind when you're building a fleet. And the game's very nicely sort of given you the idea a bit itself. In the very first box that you get, I don't currently have it unfortunately because I've unlocked it on this account, but the very first box you get here, it's got the CAS, it's got a couple of destroyers, it's got the FG300s. They give you a FG300 variant. Now this might be the most important ship that you can get early game, and they give it to you for free, which is really, really nice. It's this one here. It's the armored type. It's the third on the top of that box, and I do recommend you try and pick that up as soon as possible. It's probably the most important ship you can pick up early game, this one and potentially the destroyer for mining, but this is going to be the first one you definitely should try to grab hold of. Now the reason I recommend this is because it's got a lot of armor for the early game. What armor does is it quite literally reduces damage by the amount of armor there is. So it's a flat damage reduction. So if you've got 15 or 20 damage coming in from a weapon, this as a basic is going to take 15 damage off it. Just knock that damage straight off, so only 5 damage can potentially get through. Obviously with upgrades I'm now sat at 24, which means a ship like the multi-role, which only has 25 damage, is only going to be dealing 2 damage, or 2.5. The reason it's dealing 2.5 and not 1 damage with 24 armor is due to the fact that there is a minimum amount of damage a weapon can deal, and that is 10%. So all weapons at a minimum will deal 10%. So this is very important to just bear in mind as well, is the combat roles. this is front row, which means it's a higher priority for the enemy to shoot this ship than it is the middle rows and the back row. So because this sits at the front, it's also heavily armored. This is the very first tank they give you. I mean, you can get lucky and get something from the black market boxes, but this is going to be your first real tank. So I do recommend trying to build as many of these out as possible. Now we're going to move back into the middle row, because this is the only ship I'll talk about tank-wise, because it's the only ship you can get for certain. And that's the multi-role. Now the multi-role will sit in your mid. It is higher DPS than the tank by a considerable margin. We've got 2005 per minute on here, whereas we look at the armored, it's all the way down to 1285. That's mostly because it's lost a gun. If you notice, it's got 2 guns on here and a couple of, it's got 1 on the side. These are defense weapons, the anti-air, anti-missile, that kind of thing. So the multi-role is going to be your early game damage dealer. Again, it's not an amazing, there is a better ship that you can definitely get that we'll talk about in a minute. The intro might give away what it is. But yeah, this is going to be in your mid row. As you can see here in the combat roles, it's middle row. Generic type doesn't matter too much, but middle row means it's going to be behind the tanks. So the front row will take the damage. The mid row can sometimes take damage. There are ships that do target it, mid row and rear row and stuff like that. So take this with a bit of grain of salt. There are things that can get past the front row, but in general, as a general step to looking at how to build fleets, front row first, then middle row. So DPS in middle row or rear row, this is a good one to try and grab hold of. I recommend trying to max out the amount of armors you can grab, potentially max out the amount of multi-rolls early on. And then if you're very lucky, you'll pick up the Winged Hussar. The Winged Hussar is a destroyer. It's unlocked from the more expensive of the research boxes. If we have a look in the store, the United Tech Files. This has a pretty much 50% chance to pick up a winged destroyer. That's because if you check up in the eye, you have a 50% destroyer chance, a 50% frigate chance. So if you're lucky, you get this first go. If not, you're probably going to get it on your second go. And I do recommend picking this ship up due to the fact that it is very, very strong in that DPS category. It does have more armor than the armored frigate, but it sits mid-row, which means the armored frigate's going to tank for it regardless. So definitely have a look at trying to grab hold of one of these. It's got some gnarly cannon damage on its bow cannon. This has been upgraded a little bit, but as you can see, it's 440 damage straight off the bat. I think it's about 22-25 second attack interval. I have the cooldown mods on here. But yeah, definitely worth a go. Even the missiles on this ship are pretty decent, doing 140 damage times 4 times 2. So it's quite a lot of damage output coming from the ship. This will be your main source of DPS when you get it, if you don't get anything better. For definitely the early to sort of the mid game. So definitely pick it up if you can. I mean, 50% chance, everyone's going to have it, right? Right. Now we have the very special ship. In cities that are classed as city level 5 or above, this is a level 7, so a level 5 as well. If you send your recon ship and go and trade, you'll be able to trade with a trading outpost, and you can come in here and pick up some nice ships. There's a lot of choice in here. I've gone through most of these, and honestly, the Rager Torpedo frigate stands above pretty much every other ship in this shop. Even the Grim Reaper, even the Star Sweeper, the Helios. This thing for command point cost at 5 command deals absurd amounts of damage. So it has this torpedo launching system, which is 300, shoots 2 rounds at every 16 seconds. There's a pair of these, one on each side, so it's a lot of DPS output. At 300 damage, it's going to ignore quite a lot of the armor in the early game. Again, like I said, the upgraded armored frigate will only stop 24 of damage of this 300 per shot coming through. The Winged Hussar, slightly more armored. I believe it's around 50 armor. Again, 250 damage is going through per shot. This thing absolutely dishes out more damage above its weight than anything else in its class that I've seen so far within the game. So definitely try and pick up these Rager torpedoes. They really are gonna like carry you straight through into the mid game and potentially further. 10 of these is a lot of damage output, and they sit in the mid row as well, which is quite nice. So they're out of the way. They're going to be protected by all of your armored frigates at the start and potentially cruisers later on in the game, and these still have substantial amount of DPS that you can keep them within your fleet. The Winged Hussar does eventually outdamage this, and that's due to the fact that these bought ships you can't get experience on from combat. So it does put them in a position where they can't get easily upgraded, which is a bit of a shame. I would like to see that changed, and they do get experience to make them a little bit more relevant throughout all the game rather than just the early mid game. The Winged Hussar, like I said, will get experience. You can get the upgrades onto it, so it is going to out DPS this ship at some point. Now, I won't talk about any of the support ships, and that's due to the fact that they don't really give you any. They do give you one of the destroyers with the capabilities of carrying corvettes, but the corvette they give you is terrible, so I just don't recommend building them. If you do find a decent corvette, though, do look into grabbing those destroyers. They sit on the back row, which is quite nice. They launch these corvettes out, and those corvettes can bring some pretty serious bang for your buck. So, I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful and informative. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys next time.